What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 63 of To the Show We Go. We got Chris Henrique and myself, Andrew Parker. It is the Nick Mears episode. And if you're not too familiar with Nick, I know that we do have a lot of New England listeners, but obviously we're branching out a little bit. We just had Steven Nogosek on last episode, who's just signed with the Washington Nationals. But Nick has had a pretty good season this past year with Colorado. We will get into that. I obviously spent some time with the Pirates before that. But Nick, I wanted to start us off. You just reported down to the complex. How did the offseason go for you? I guess after now you've gone through, you finished out the year with Colorado. You're going into spring training now. I guess, what did you take away from this offseason?
Well, first off, thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it. But I mean, this offseason, it's kind of been like, I had a decent year last year, but it was kind of plagued with injuries. I had 2 oblique stints. So, I mean, the biggest offseason goal this year was to set myself and my body up to endure an entire season because, I mean, it goes by quick, but it is definitely grueling on your body. And in Colorado, like, the altitude, you kind of recover less because of that altitude. So it's just kind of setting myself up for a healthy year.
What was the hardest thing for you pitching in the altitude? So obviously it's not too pitcher friendly. I think everybody knows that's where pitchers seem to obviously struggle for obvious reasons. But for you, I guess, without doing that ever in your career, I guess, what was the biggest takeaway from now being like, okay, I got that under my belt and I'm going to take that with me into next season?
I mean, the biggest thing is like, I try not to think about it too much. Yes, like when you go back and look at numbers and stuff on how your pitches are moving, it's 20 to 25% less. And for a 4-seam ride guy, that takes my elite vert down to MLB average. So it's kind of just, I have to sequence a little better. I have to choose different pitches in certain counts because I can't really get that swing and miss as much on the 4-seam at the top of the zone, because instead of riding above the barrel, it kind of just goes to the top of the zone. And then I also added a new pitch last year, a gyro slider. So it doesn't rely as much on seam-induced movement. It's more gravitationally based because it's a bullet spin. So that helped kind of bridge the gap between my 4-seam and my curveball, because it had such a big movement difference in them. And for something to not rely on seam-induced movement like the 4-seam and the curveball, the gyro kind of was right in between the movement profile. So that helped me out a lot going to Denver, because I mean, everybody that pitches in Denver is worried, oh, my stuff isn't going to move as much, and they get worried about it, and then they try and make it nasty, and instead of just trusting it. And that was a big thing, was just like, all right, like, yeah, my stuff's not going to move as much, but I still have to be convicted in throwing this pitch, even though I know that. Like, I'm still out there to do a job, you know?
I have to ask, so we've been talking to a lot of guys this offseason, and especially guys that have either added a sweeper slider, whatever. Then you have guys like, I use this as a reference in the last episode we did, but a guy like Nick Pivetta, who's been in the league for a while, learned a pitch that he nicknamed the Whirly Bird. And it was like a sweeper slider, like, I mean, he doesn't really like have like an exact, so he just calls it the Whirly Bird. There's like not an exact name, I guess, on it. But what led you towards adding like a gyro slider like that instead of like your traditional sweeper or something else?
So going back to like the movement, I had at sea level about 40 inches of separation between my 4-seam and my curveball when it's at its best. So if I'm living at the top of the zone, then in order for me to land a curveball, I have to almost, it looks like it kind of pops out of my hand when I have to throw it for a strike. So, and I was a two pitch guy for 2 years with Pittsburgh, and it was just, they would completely eliminate the curveball because they know that I have to challenge him with the fastball at some point. So I wanted something harder. I wanted a third pitch that is, I mean, hard. I want a hard off-speed pitch that's hard to recognize, which that's all relative uh, at the end of the day. But I tried throwing a changeup. I couldn't get anything to go arm side. I tried throwing the sweeper, but it was morphing into my curveball. So that immediately eliminated the changeup and the sweeper. So the gyro was kind of just emerging, as people were calling it like a big cutter at the time. But now that we've kind of moved beyond that over the last few years, it's become its own pitch. And I throw what's like classified as a death slider or a hard curveball. It's like 85 to 87, but the movement profile on it doesn't have a whole lot of horizontal, so it's not like a sweeper. It's like, if you guys know metrics at all, it's about -1 horizontal or 0 horizontal, but all of the movement is straight down. It's about a -6 vert at like 86. So it sets up my fastball curveball better because it's right in the middle of the velo difference, but it also looks like it's a fastball, and then it just so
I didn't get to see on. I did take a peek at the old Instagram, but I see you're not too active. You're just posting like mostly like baseball photos and stuff. I get it,
yeah.
but a lot of guys are very active. We've had a ton of guys this offseason on the show talk about spending time at Cressy. We just had a tread athletics guy. There's guys, drive line guys. I mean, you guys are all spread out. It's kind of hard to keep up. Like, oh, this guy's over Cressy. Oh, this guy's over drive
Yeah.
line. Like, have you had where have you been this off season? And I guess have you been working on the new pitches and I guess all the metrics that goes behind them as well?
So I'm out at a facility called Optimum Athletics out in Sacramento. It just good guys there. Like I've been there since I started pro ball in 2018, and we have a really good relationship, and like they shoot me straight. I shoot them straight. Like they tell me, hey, like, I mean, by the end of the season, I'm usually kind of skinny. Just I lose a bunch of weight during the season. So like I get in there, we have an assessment. Hey, you're deficient in this, all this stuff. Like this is what you need to do. Great. We make a plan, attack it during the off season. But we also have a PT facility in house, and they actually work with like UFC guys as well. Like TJ Dillashaw, like Cody Garbrandt, those guys. We get a bunch of MMA guys that come in. And so, but they also specialize in baseball, just with shoulders, elbows, stuff like that. So I've been out there with, like, we got high speed cameras, we got TrackMan, we got all that stuff. The only thing that we don't have is like a biometrics lab, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you still have everything you can need in the PT in house, man. You don't really see that too often.
Yeah, it's great because
Around.
like the head trainer of, we call it OA, the head trainer of OA and the head physical therapist at Kime, like they talk every day, so they're always on the same page. If one guy sees something, then they talk to each other, and then they make a plan of attack and come to you and see what you think. So it's a very good dynamic over there.
So I'm going to kick back to something you brought up previously. You had a few oblique strains throughout this past season. Um, what, I guess, what were your takeaways from it? So, was it one of those things where when you kind of had the setback originally, you tried to come back too fast and it came back? Like, I guess, can you take us through, like, I guess, just dealing with that on the MLB
Yeah.
team?
Yeah. I mean, you never want to be hurt when you get paid to be on the field. I mean, you want to help the guys win. You want to be a part of that group that has the success. And the first time it sucked, but it was like, okay, it's just a little thing. I'll be back. So I didn't give it enough attention. I feel like I thought it was just one of those things that, oh, I tweaked my oblique. It'll be good. I just need some rest. Um, and then I came back about a month later, got optioned down to AAA, had a few appearances there, and then got called back up against the Dodgers. And first game back in the big leagues, I faced Mookie, Freddie Freeman, and then Will Smith. Welcome
Sheesh.
back, right?
Welcome back to the team.
So I think I popped Mookie up, got him out. Freddie Freeman rolled over to first or second, I believe, on I think it was 5 pitches. So we're cruising, and then Will Smith came up, and we went fastball, slider, slider, slider. Well, on the last slider, I felt it. It kind of like it grabbed, but I was like, okay, well, I know I'm going to be going back out. I need to figure this thing out while I'm inside in the dugout. So I walk back in. I'm doing all my stretches, like trying to activate it. And then before I go back out for my second inning, I take ammonia and I snap it and I just start huffing this thing and all the way out the dugout. And then I throw it down and I run out. And my first warm-up pitch I knew. But I was like, I don't want to go on the IL again. I need to get through this. So I throw my warm-up pitches. I know it's not right, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna see what I got. Max Muncy comes up to the plate, first pitch, 86. Comes up as a changeup. And like we talked earlier, I don't throw a changeup. So that's an issue. So the next one, I throw 88, comes up as changeup. Muncy swings through it. And then coaches come out, and that was it. I ended up having a grade 1 strain on my oblique and then a grade 2 on my intercostal, which is like the muscle in between the rib cage. Yeah.
My goodness.
And you don't realize like how much you use those core muscles until you hurt it. Like I couldn't roll around in bed. I couldn't sneeze. I couldn't cough. I couldn't laugh. Like that one hurt. Like the first one I could kind of manage, but the second one that one got me.
That sounds absolutely brutal.
Yeah, I wouldn't enjoy it, or I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
I was Chris, unless you got something you want to hop in, but I
actually want to ask you and then I want to get away. I don't know what Andrew's going to segue to next, but get away from the injury piece. But you pitched through tearing your UCL.
Yeah, in high school. Yeah.
What's other than like? Is that like after that's like torn? Like, what is that like? Because I've never had. Well, I figured, but like, I've never had an injury like that. You know, like when I grew up playing baseball, I tried to pitch and I did hurt my elbow to the point where it would it would swell up and then my wrist would hurt and then my shoulder. So I knew, okay, it's time to stop. So,
yeah.
But how did you get through that?
So I tore it right after my 17th birthday, my senior year. I had like a college showcase tournament, went out there and just blew it out on one pitch. And then spring came around, and like I just let it be. Like I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like I went and went to a doctor. He's like, oh, it's tendonitis. It's like, bullshit. This thing fucking hurts. So he like prescribed me a topical cream. Well, topical creams don't heal ligaments, so it still continued to hurt. And then I went to Dr. Akazuki, the surgeon for the Giants out in San Francisco, and he was like, we brought the MRI, and he like put it up, and we told him what the previous doctor said, and he just started laughing. And he's like, you see this like white dot right here? That means there's no ligament there anymore. It's in half. And I was kind of devastated at the time, because like I didn't really pitch my junior year. I just gained like a bunch of velo and then blew out. Like I got up to 92 and then it just blew out. So in my eyes, like my senior year was everything. And the group of guys that we had, like, I mean, they're all still my best friends from high school. Like I wanted to play with those guys. Like those are memories that I'm never going to get back. So I talked to Dr. Akazuki. I was like, hey, like, is there any way that I can throw on this? And he was like, well, if there's enough scar tissue built up and your forearm flexor is strong enough, then it can essentially manage the workload of the UCL and be a temporary ligament almost, if everything is strong enough in there. And I was like, okay. So I went into the season without a ligament in my elbow. The beginning was tough. Like I was thrown with pain, all that stuff. And then it eventually kind of got better and better. And by the last game of the season, I think I touched 92 without a ligament. So
something.
Yeah.
I give you credit. You definitely played through some pain. So I give you credit. I couldn't imagine. Now that you say that too, I remember when I went to the doctor, his recommendation was I remember my parents had to do this cream thing, and then they had me stop throwing. But every time I threw, like after like the fourth throw, literally, like I felt. I don't think you should feel a specific warm sensation inside your elbow. Yeah. There's a difference between when you're getting warm and you're loosening up to just, it was like a burning sensation. And then like my wrist, I was like, I'm good. I pitched through it in my wiffle ball league that I was in. Next mornings, Monday mornings, I would have my elbow like out to here and I'd have to wrap it. But hey, you know what you do for wiffle ball.
Yeah, it's for the love of the game, right?
Well, I want to get away from injuries because I feel like it's a little depressing. And you just came off a couple last year that you're probably like, I want to put that in the rearview mirror. So
a little bit,
it's all good. We understand it. We were on a team last year, and when some of those guys were hurt, it was like, man, that sucks. Like you're taking away their livelihood. So September, you appeared in quite a few games down the stretch to finish out the season. So I can't see how many games. I think it was 10 appearances, I think, in September for you, 10, 11. What was it? Obviously you battled through those obliques earlier in the season, landed on the IL. You come back, you're with the team to finish the year. Any takeaways that you had from finishing, and you didn't finish off, you finished pretty well, like with the team. So it's like any takeaways you're going to take into next season, just based off your September?
I mean, I think I had a good September until the last two games. I think I scuffled a little bit, but I mean, overall, I think that performance wise, it was good. But going into this year, I mean, it's easy for me to say, oh, yeah, I have a job. But then, at least to myself, I feel like I get complacent with that. And I want to be hungry. Like, I want to go out there and prove it again, because, like, nothing in this career is guaranteed. Like, there's more guys just like me in the minor leagues that want my job. So in my eyes, I think like I got to come in, I got to prove it again. Like I want to prove it to not only like the coaches and the team and all that, but like I want to prove it to myself.
I was going to say, I was looking at your outings, and you did have a couple at the end. The worst one was the Dodgers, but I think everybody's willing to give you a pass on that because they had, like you even mentioned before, they literally have like murderers row in that lineup,
Yeah,
especially this next season.
I've faced like the heart of that lineup every single series, so they knew it was coming.
Do you, real quick, do you have any thoughts on, I mean, you're in the same division as the Dodgers again. So you have any thoughts on the even more firepower that they added to the lineup?
Not really. I mean, I don't want it to come across as conceited, but like at this level, like no matter what team you face, there's going to be boppers on it. Like we're the highest level athletes in this sport. Like you're going to run into teams like that. And in my eyes, like when I'm warming up in the bullpen, I don't ask, hey, who's up? Who's coming up? Like the next three. All I want to know is where's the swing and miss? Where do I put him away? Is he going to ambush me? And what side of the plate does he hit on? Those are the only four things that I want to know. Because I don't care who's in the box. Like, my job is to get whoever's in that box out. It doesn't matter the name on the back of their jersey. Like, my job, it's me versus you. And in my eyes, I'm going to win more often than not.
That is a closer mentality if I ever heard it. I know you're not the closer, but I do have a question in regard. That's where I'm actually I'm segueing to my next question here. But you got to share a bullpen with a guy who probably has one of the better baseball stories in the country, in Daniel Bard.
Yep.
And he's writing a book actually with a guy. Yeah. Well, that's news. Chris, that's public.
Yeah. He
okay.
tweeted
I
out
didn't want to spill it if it wasn't public.
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
No, you're good.
Okay. All right, cool. So he's writing a book. I don't know when it's going to come out or anything, but there's a beat writer here in Boston. I don't know if you've seen Baseball Isn't Boring, like any of that stuff, but Rob Bradford, who kind of does that, is writing the book. He wrote the book with Joe Kelly previously. Now he's going to do the book with Daniel Bard. And I couldn't think of a better guy to write a book with or about, because Daniel Bard, his story, just insane. A lot of people in Boston know it, obviously, because he was with the Red Sox. But so I'm getting to my question. Did you get to pick his brain at all? Because I know he's probably the veteran guy in that bullpen. So did he kind of like take any guys under his wing, like, or was there anybody else on that staff that kind of helped you out? Like, I guess veteran wise.
I mean, the entire bullpen is incredible. Like, we all pull for each other. We're all good dudes, self-proclaimed good dude. But I mean, as far as like the veteran presence down there, it's Bard, Tyler Kinley. Like, those are the two guys. Like, they've been around. I mean, we would always chat during the games, just like go over games from the previous night and just kind of pick each other's brains. Like, hey, what were you thinking here? Like, what were you trying to do? Like, you see this swing, what are you thinking? And then also just like how to prepare, stuff like that. You can always get better at like the mental side of things when it comes to baseball. So I enjoy like talking about that stuff. And we did a bunch of that stuff at Sac City, where I played in college. And so I understand the necessity of it, because like probably 80% of guys in the minor leagues could probably play at the big leagues. It's just how consistent can you be in the big leagues? And I feel like that comes down to the mental side of things. So, I mean, Bard and TK are a great resource to have in that bullpen, especially for guys trying to get to where they are, you know? and we got a lot of young guys in the bullpen, like me, Jake Bird, J Law. We had Pierce Johnson last year, who was a good presence in the bullpen. Brad Hand. I mean, just a bunch of great guys. Great and just good support.
I'm going to keep it teammate focus here for my for this next question, but I feel like the Rockies last year, obviously it wasn't the season that like people probably wanted. But I feel like the Rockies had some guys that kind of flew under the radar, and there was a guy that I really enjoyed watching hit a baseball, and that was well, there's actually a couple. Brenton Doyle obviously came. His story was awesome to see, but there's another guy that was playing out in the outfield, Nolan Jones, that. Probably one of my favorite guys that I didn't really know too much about before last season, but then watching him play a little bit, I'm just like, okay, like, because being out on the East Coast, we sometimes like, you know, all the games start at like 7:00 Eastern time out here. They end, and then you're just like, what do I do now? I got to flip on the Dodgers, the Giants, the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, those teams. It's kind of fun actually, but so I got to see a little bit of Nolan Jones, but. What were your takeaways, I guess, from like, you know, some of these guys that, you know, Brenton Doyle came onto the scene and Nolan Jones is really starting to become a star. Like, what was it like getting a front row seat for those guys?
I mean, Brenton Doyle in the outfield, like you see a guy like barrel one up to center field. You don't even have to worry. Like the guy's a vacuum out there, and the plays that he makes, and he makes them look like easy. Just like when full layout in the gap and he just snags it. It's like nobody else is doing that. Like you're disgusting. But as far as Nojo, so I actually played against him quite a bit in AAA with the Pirates because he was in Columbus, I was in Indianapolis. So we would face each other a lot. And you could tell he was a little unrefined then. And I mean, no disrespect by this, but because I love the guy. Like, he's a great competitor, great teammate, great guy. But you could tell there was a little bit, there was a lot of talent, but it was just a little unrefined. And then he's playing third at the time before he's transitioned to the outfield in his last year there. And like, as a third baseman in that organization, you're like, there's no shot I'm playing in the big leagues at third base, right? You got Jose Ramirez, who's just a god and just holding down third base there. So he started to make his transition in the outfield, and we were like one of the first series in, I believe it was 22, where he transitioned into the outfield. And it wasn't great, but he was athletic, so he made it work. And then we both came over to the Rockies at the same time, and like I could tell he was kind of felt out of place, but I did too. So like I kind of gravitated towards him, like just started talking him up because we knew each other through Max Kranick. Nolan and Max like grew up in the same, like out near Philly, played against each other. So like we had mutual friends, so we knew about each other. And came over to the Rockies, and like he got called up, didn't play, got sent down. And then I got called up, and then he got called up, and he like made a base running error, and then like went 0 for at the plate. So it was a tough day for him. And he was really down on himself. So I walked over there. I was like, hey, like, bro, I've seen you play. Like, you're going to be just fine. You have so much talent. You just need to relax. Like, the amount of pressure that we put on ourselves because we know that we can do it it's like you can't measure it. And it weighs a lot when you don't know how to fix it. So I just went over there. I was like, dude, like, relax. Like, you're going to be fine. Yeah, you had a bad day. We all have bad days. But you got to flush it. Worry about tomorrow. And then the guy just started raking out of nowhere. He was making nasty assists, throwing guys out in the outfield. He had 20 pumps last year. He was hitting like 300 at points of the season. You're like, he's good dude, like great guy.
Red Sox fan growing up. So when I found that out,
Same here.
even better. Look at that.
Yep. I remember my dad jumping up and down on top of the coffee table when they beat the Yankees in Game 7. He ended up breaking the coffee table, but in his living room, we had a sprint car tire with a glass top, and he just started jumping on top of it. Like, bro, the glass is going to break. Like, we all know that. But yeah, that's a great memory I have of like just when I was a kid watching baseball.
So why was he a Red Sox fan out in
Ted Williams?
Can't argue with that. It's one you can't really argue with.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I am going to hit my speed run here unless you have something.
Yeah, I have one that'll be a good follow-up then. I'm sure you've seen that Netflix and the Red Sox are going to do a series. As a player in the league, what's your thoughts on that, just in general?
I think it's great for the sport because, like, I mean, especially with social media nowadays, like, people don't really see all the work that goes on. Like, they don't understand. They think we show up 30 minutes before the game and just go play. No, we're at the field for 10, 11, maybe 12 hours a day on just a normal night game. That's not even for like a doubleheader, including the travel after to another city on a flight. So I think it'll be good to give an insight into what really goes into this caliber of sports, and especially with like all the other series, like the Formula One, the Hard Knocks, the tennis, all that stuff. So I think it's going to be great for the game. I would be interested to see how the players feel about it, though. Whether or not like they're intrusive into like team only time or stuff like that. But I think that it's great.
Yeah, definitely. Like, take away from, obviously, you know, we do a lot of Red Sox stuff. So take away from that. I've been waiting for something like this. I always thought that baseball, and if people listen to this podcast, I've said this a million times, baseball has gotten better with promoting the game from the perspective of trying to showcase you guys more so beyond just being the athlete on the field.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to kind of get a lot of those behind the scenes. I mean, we got to see a lot of it in, you know, covering with the Woo Sox. And, you know, when you're saying like, yeah, we're there 11 hours, like we see it, you know, the guys get there, you know, and you're there sometimes earlier, whether it's for treatment or you want to get a few more reps in the cage or whatever it might be. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped for it because I'm hoping that it opens up more of this type of stuff, because I think if fans got to be able to really see you guys beyond being baseball players, I'm hoping that it will change a lot of the damn narratives that show up on social media. Because when a fan doesn't know who the hell the player is by name, they immediately in their mind they think they suck, and that pisses me off more than anything. And I'm not even a player, like. But now getting the opportunity to talk to you guys and understand you guys beyond, you know, a guy that throws a gyro slider, right? And kind of learning a little more about you from reading different like pieces of content or whatever. But there's so much more to you guys as athletes versus just what is seen out in the baseball field. And that is what I'm more excited about, that to be able to kind of showcase that, because there are so many other stories that are available to people to show for you guys. So that I'm pumped about. There's an opportunity too. Sox are going to be out in Colorado 22nd, 23rd, 24th of July. So you might be on Netflix. There's a chance you could be on Netflix.
I know. I was kind of upset that we went there last year and I missed the trip. So they're going to be coming out to us. I don't think we go to Fenway this year. So, but I mean, going back to what you said, Chris, like, I mean, if you're around me or like we meet in person and they're like, oh, you're like a baseball player. No, man. Like, I'm just a guy. I got a cool job. Like, that's it. Like, we're just humans at the end of the day. We're having conversations just like this. Like, I just got a cool job.
You just happen to be able to throw a baseball really, really hard. But when you're not doing that, you're just like, you know, you face the same challenges that me and Chris and other guys face. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you guys are just normal dudes, and I know sometimes you guys just want to be treated like that, but some people are just, I don't know, man. I did have an interesting since you know Joe Jakes, I reached out to him yesterday, and I'm like, hey, I need your thoughts on this Netflix thing, and his quote. You know Joe. So his quote says, you know, it's going to be interesting. Think there's going to be some good things of it. His line says, my haircut bill just went up, though. Going to have a fresh cut every week.
This dude
That was
has a
his
fresh
first thought.
fade at all times.
At all times, regardless.
All times. Like, best hair in the league. Like, always perfect. Like, perfectly combed and gelled.
Yeah. I remember watching his debut at Fenway. It was like raining. It was like all this. And my fiance was watching the game with me. And she was just like, who's this like hunk on the mound? Because he like took his hat off. Like, because
and
it
it's
was
still
like
perfect.
pouring.
It's
it was
still
like
perfect. Takes the hat off. It's
slicked
perfect.
back.
I don't know how he does it.
Like his beard is like perfectly lined up. I'm like, dude, this guy is a model.
Yeah.
He just happens to be good at throwing a baseball. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah. So yeah, that was his thoughts. I thought you'd get a kick out of it, but all right.
Good.
We want to get to know you a little more outside of baseball here. So like you said, you're just a guy who has a cool job. So I have a speed run of questions here. I'm not even going to give it a time limit because I think you're an interesting guy already. And I feel like your answers might give us some, I don't know. So I have some questions if you're ready for it.
Yeah.
All right, let's start this off. Movies, shows, or live TV?
I'm about to watch Masters of the Air after this. I just got Apple Plus, so I've been binge watching Ted Lasso. But I would say my favorite movie of all time is A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
All right, I got 2 follow-ups on that one. One, Masters of the Air is incredible. I'm on season or episode like 3. Oh my gosh, fantastic. And then 2, which one though, if you had to pick, are you a movies guy, a show guy, or live TV guy? Like, what do you prefer? Okay.
Movies, probably.
Okay. Thoughts on Ted Lasso as well?
Great character development. Sometimes a little too much to where there's like a little lull in the actual like sports aspect of it. But overall, I mean, I love it. I'm like almost done with season 3, and I started it about a week and a half ago.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Man. Not a lot of grass has been touched
no.
outside of working.
Well, it's raining here, so in Arizona. I mean, come on.
Oh, I did see the Waste Management was postponed today because of the inclement weather there in Phoenix, Scottsdale. I forgot where they were. All right, sorry. It is a speed run, and I got a little whatever, but
I didn't time it this time. You said don't time it, so.
All right, cool. Best game you've ever played in, like that you've been a part of.
My favorite one, it was like the beginning or middle of September in 2021 when I was with the Pirates versus the Reds. They were like right on the cusp of like making the playoffs and not making the playoffs. So they were like making a push. They had a pretty good team at the time, like Castellanos, Votto, Farmer, good group of guys over there. And then, so the game before, I gave up 3 or 4 runs on some jam shot, broken bat bullshit and some walks. So this was my redemption. I face them again in Cincinnati. I get the bases loaded again with no outs. And then Joey Votto comes up. I pop him up. Castellanos comes up. I pop him up. Kyle Farmer comes up, and I strike him out. Bases loaded, no outs. Got out of it. First time I made ESPN because I'm walking off the mound, and I was pretty pumped. I said some choice words, and you could definitely read my lips. So, yeah, that was probably the most fired up ever been playing baseball. And just like it's redemption. Like, how can you not love a comeback story?
Love it. What song will be your walkout song in 2024?
Ooh. So the last 2 years, it's been Dragula by Rob Zombie. A little heavier metal for you. I was thinking about doing like an EDM song this year. Maybe Empathy by Bass Nectar. Or like, what is it? Gold Dust by Adventure Club, like an old dubstep song.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we got to
See
do,
how I feel.
Andrew, is we got to go back to these speed rounds and get some of this music and put together the To The Show playlist of all these players' songs.
Oh yeah.
Is this some interesting? The Dragula. I didn't pin you for a Dragula.
So I'm a very calm guy, but I'm very intense once I get on the mound. I think of it as like, hey, you're in the box, you're in my way, you're gonna move, type deal. So that's why I chose Rob Zombie.
If there wasn't a bunch of copyright shit, I would use these songs after the intro or whatever. But at some point, I feel like I would be threatened to be sued. So
It's gonna catch up to us. Yeah.
So
Somebody's gonna listen to it and we're like, oh man, we didn't want it to get that big, but all right. All right, I just had to peep because normally, okay, you're 27. You're still a young guy. You still got plenty left in tank, but I want to go by the age of, let's say, 32. So about 5 years. So by the age of 32, you want to have accomplished what?
All-Star game. I don't really care about the role because, I mean, like the role in the bullpen, like I just want to win. That's the only thing. Like, we're here to win. We get paid to win. We go on the field to win. I want to win a World Series, or at least make it to the championship series. I want to be in the All-Star game, and I want to have the highest Ks per nine.
Lofty goals, but gotta shoot for the stars.
Exactly.
I don't hate it.
If there was one rule in the MLB or minor league ball that you could change, what would it be?
Especially in Colorado.
Mark tells me that there's a lot that you would change.
I just need one.
It's the low-hanging fruit. I mean, the pitch clock. Because, I mean, fellas, running in from right field to the mound, you're gassed. All right, like we're in pretty good shape over here. Like, but I'm running 300 feet, and then I got to face the best guys in the world, and I got 15 seconds in between. I'm still trying to catch my breath after my warm-ups, guys. Like, come on.
They're trying to shorten it too, aren't they?
I mean, we gotta Colorado guys. Come on, like we gotta add a little bit, like have a little feel.
Yeah. All right. Favorite athlete outside of baseball?
De'Aaron Fox or Lando Norris.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay. Sacramento guy. All right. Fair enough. I only met one Kings fan in my entire life. It was Nick Sogard in Worcester last year. And I'm like, dude, you are the only Kings fan I've ever seen.
Light the beam, baby. Come on.
Yep. See, I've heard him say that a few times. All right. Weirdest baseball superstition that you've had in your career or that you've seen?
That's tough. It's usually always starting pitchers that have the weirdest superstitions. I'm trying to think. Oh no, there was a catcher in High A in 2019 with the Pirates. He couldn't wash his jock strap when he was hitting good. It was the nastiest thing ever. Like, we're in Florida in summer, and this guy's not washing his jockstrap. Just to give you an image or a smell, if you will. It was pretty nasty.
Okay. I can taste that smell. That's not great. All right. Next question here. Who is a player that you've played with or against your entire career that has left you thinking, holy shit, that guy is the most incredible talent I've ever seen in person?
O'Neal Cruz. Tovar in the field he's really good. Who else? Bednar, just like David Bednar, like just how he pitches. I really respect him for that because like he just challenges people. Like he doesn't care. But I would say O'Neal Cruz, like that guy is when he like puts all of his effort in, he is one of the best players I've been around.
That's fair. Nobody's going to argue with that. I love watching him play.
Last year when he got hurt.
Yeah, I felt bad for him, man. He cares a lot. He's a good dude too.
What is a guilty pleasure of Nick Mears?
Being out in nature, because like we're in cities all year, like all this like noise and a bunch of like just noise everywhere. So like during the off season, like where I live is like away from kind of everybody. It's like in a rural part of Sacramento. So like I'll just sit out there and it's dead quiet. Like you can hear just like the birds or like the frogs, and you just sit there and on like a clear night, you just look up and all the stars are there. You can see everything. Just there's peace and silence, I feel like.
You would enjoy New Hampshire. Just moved up here and it's a lot of that.
Really?
All right. Next few questions here, or food related. So just get ready. We went from dirty jock straps to food, so it's all good. This is an important one. I need your favorite fast food fried chicken chain.
Now, I would say Zaxby's, but I haven't had Raisin Cane's enough to fully give it a shot at that title.
Did you said Zaxby's was your favorite?
I don't eat a lot of fried chicken, I'll be honest.
That was the correct answer, was Zaxby's. So yeah, I've asked every single guy on this show. You are episode 63. Every episode is a different guy. I have gotten Zaxby's 4 times on the show. You're number 5. That's incredible. It's like
when I played in Greensboro, our apartments were like right next to Zaxby's. So yeah, you still got to get lunch before you go to the field. You just drive to Zaxby's on the way out and then go.
I would have been in absolute heaven. There's no Zaxby's in the Northeast, so I'm kind of screwed right now.
That hurts.
But appreciate the Zaxby's love. That's it's in my Twitter bio. I have to push their product as much as I can. So
he's trying to get the podcast sponsored, but unfortunately, only 5 people have said they like Zaxby's in there.
Everybody says Chick-fil-A. When I ask the question, it's like I can't really present that to Zaxby's social team, and if everybody just says Chick-fil-A on the show, right?
See, I feel like Chick-fil-A is just the low-hanging fruit. It's easy to say. Like,
it's.
I would say it's good, but Zaxby's is made with love in the South. You know, they take pride in the chicken.
Clip
this, Chris. All right. Appreciate that, Nick. That's definitely getting clipped and going into the montage of Zaxby's love so that way I can present it to him. I'm on a chicken kick right now, but it's a big debate. Are you drums or a flat guy?
Drums. Too much work for the flats.
Yep. I'm with you.
This is more meat.
It's a lot of work, though. Go-to pregame snack.
A Stinger. The Stinger waffles.
Right.
Have you guys seen those around the clubhouse?
I didn't see him in the Woosocks clubhouse, but I know what you're talking about. I used to not going to give them the free pub like Andrew does to Zaxby's, but I used to work for the #1 sporting goods retailer in the country, and we sold those.
Yeah,
I've tried them. I tried a honey one, which wasn't bad. The others were, but the honey wasn't bad.
Yeah, I usually get it with coffee. Okay. I'll grab a Stinger, grab some coffee, and then start walking out to the bullpen.
Okay, I just looked it up. Had no idea what it was. Interesting. All right, I don't know if I saw those around the Woosocks locker room.
I didn't see those.
I didn't either. I think Norfolk did have a bunch of them because those wrappers look very familiar. They're like the honeycomb type thing.
Yeah.
No, he's just asked the guy from the Boston Globe who just helped himself to the food in the Woosocks kitchen. Maybe he knew.
Yeah. Last food related, worst topping to put on a pizza.
Anchovies.
Oh, I'm with you. Oh man.
I've never tried anchovies, so I can't go and be like weigh in either way. But
have you ever just like put salt on your tongue?
Not.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean,
it's like super salty, like slimy. The texture and the taste. It just doesn't do it for me.
I'm good at that point. Then I'm not.
That was all my speed run questions. Actually, I know I called a speed run and it was probably like 15 minutes, so I apologize for that. But
you're good.
I usually give this time for Chris to follow up on some of the answers that you gave because he's always like, "Oh, what about this?" So, what do you got for me, Chris?
There's weird shit that intrigues me. I'm a weird cat, so I do want to know because you had mentioned some things, some shows. Are you? Because I'm a big Seinfeld, Curb Your Enthusiasm guy. Do you happen to partake in viewing either one of those programs?
I don't, but when I was younger, my mom would always have like Friends on, but my dad was more of a Seinfeld guy. And personally, I'm more of a Seinfeld guy. I just match with the humor a little better.
I'm gonna try to incorporate things. I'm big with, like I said, I love those two shows. It's Curb's final season. Larry David's on my bucket list of somebody that I like to interview, but I mean, I'll have to make that quick because I think he's like 76. So
yeah, he's getting up there.
Jeez, Chris.
Wow. You might as well be honest with it. You have you mentioned a couple of songs that's in there. What's like your normal vibe? Like if you had the opportunity during the summer, you're not playing baseball and you can hit up a couple of shows. What would be like your speed of music you'd go? Are you like all over the place? You know what I mean? Could you do a concert like a country show and then go to like a rock show, or like what's your vibe when it comes to music?
I wouldn't say I would go to a country concert. Old country, I'd be down, but I feel like all of the new country is more like R&B with country behind it. It's not country. I don't know. I usually listen to like EDM or like rock music, a lot of like house music, progressive house. Like I think my Spotify recap said like it's 95% house music and then 5% like heavy metal, and that's usually when I'm working out. So I don't know. It's melodic. It kind of soothes me and I can kind of like jam out to it at times.
Yeah, I'm not big into country. However, I did I think say the closest to country, I saw Jelly Roll, which I would say like was great.
Yeah.
If you get an opportunity to see him, he puts on a great show. And my random show that I went to last year, which I was embarrassed to say that I went to, but now I'm not, is I went to see Nickelback. And I have to tell you what, it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Yeah.
I've never really been to a show where every single person knew almost it was like every single song. Like the crowd sang to every song and the place was packed from the front of the stage to the back of the wall. So I can say I'm okay with Nickelback. My buddies bust my balls about it all the time. And I'm gonna get the same treatment because Creed is gonna be playing up here in August. I'm gonna go see Creed. They don't want to go, but I'm gonna go.
Good. Hey, if you got to go by yourself, that's worth it.
Like
I've gone to shows by myself. Like, hey, if it's your shit, like,
I just think about it though, like during the baseball playoffs with the Rangers, and you had that, like, just the way that, like, and it just kind of brought me back. Or I was, I'm older than Andrew, so I'm like, I remember those songs and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do Creed.
Yeah, like cue the Super Bowl video of him on the drapes swinging across during halftime.
Yeah, that'll be my entrance after the podcast. After me ride it in higher.
All right, Nick. Oh, you've given us 55 minutes of your time. We're about to cut you loose here. I had one final question, and then we can let you go. The Super Bowl is in a few days. When this is released, this will be Friday, so the Super Bowl will be in 2 days. Obviously, you're from relatively close to the 49ers, but I don't know if that makes you a 49ers fan. So,
no.
Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl?
I'm probably rooting for the 49ers, but I don't think they're going to win. I think that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, just because of they've been there. They have the experience of playing on that stage, whereas the 49ers, not a lot of them have that Super Bowl experience. But I mean, the 49ers offense is really dangerous. But the Chiefs are also, you can't, if you got to contain Mahomes. If you don't, like, anything is possible. So
yeah, I've learned not to bet against them. It's just like Tom Brady back in the day. You can't bet against him. You just can't. Like, he's proven time and time again. It's just like Chiefs were 11-6 this year, and it's like, oh, they're not that good. And then
they're in the Super Bowl. They win when it matters.
This was a down year, and they're in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So whatever it tells you, man. But Nick, you've given us an hour of time, so we hands down appreciate that. It was obviously good to get to know you a little outside the field and everything. So appreciate you hopping on, and we're definitely going to be rooting for you this next season. But thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you for having me.